welcome to Ward 13. I am your guest host today, John Hopwood Jr. And today we have, I didn't have a guest, so I just pulled someone off the street. She looked hungry, so I gave her a place to, gave her a bite to eat, and said, hey, come on TV. Now we're honored to have Carol Robidoux. Carol Robidoux from Manchester Inklink. Y'all know it. So we're lucky to have her. Hi, Carol.
Hi, Gonzo.
I know you're thrilled.
I'm thrilled. Thrilled.
It's tough being Carol Robidoux, all these requests and stuff. Well, I'd like to think that you do say no to a lot of people, but not to me, right?
Correct.
All right,
Yeah.
so I guilted her correctly. But I don't know, like, I just want to get your perspective kind of, on being in the media. It can be a little unrewarding at times, I suppose.
I mean, nobody does it for the rewards, so that's sort of part one. It's
I should say discouraging, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, we do what we do because we feel like it's important to communicate information and be part of that. I'm not going to say it's a calling, but I'm going to say that, journalists that I know, we all sort of have the same vibe. And it's like, you want to know what's happening, you want to know the truth, and you want other people to know what's happening and what's true. So if you can do your best to get some facts and information and then write it up and get it out there for people, you feel like it's almost like being a doctor or something, like you're doing the thing that you're built to do.
So this sucked like that, because when the Inklink is kind of a as it happens kind of report. Does it suck having to compromise substance for quickness at times? I feel like that would be just, especially as a smart journalist who you kind of want to, peacock and flaunt your abilities, but really you're just trying to be the first out there to get the scoop, and that's got to be like kind of annoying because really you want to get to the heart of it too.
I think so much has changed over the years, and I was fortunate enough to get into journalism in the 1990s before things got computerized or digital.
Oh, I wish that stayed the same.
And so I have a sense of what journalism was. And I fully understand why it is what it is today, and that has a lot to do with technology. So as technology changed and people had these available to them more and more, people wanted to get quick information here. They didn't want to wait for the morning paper or the afternoon paper. They just wanted to find information. So between digital news and social media, we have to in some ways satisfy the demand for information. So what you can do is give people quick information, and if you have time or the resources, you can go deeper on things. But the unfortunate part is that there's so few working journalists in New Hampshire and elsewhere that you just don't have the manpower, the boots on the ground to spend on stories, to take the time needed to do the research. There's been, in the past, there were times when I was given an assignment and I had a week or two to do research, to call people, to go look at archives, to travel to another city or town to compare and contrast. Like, that just doesn't happen. That's not in anybody's budget. Kind of
kills your headline, kills your hook. Like when you go to the store and you don't know the story, and you see the headline, that's kind of your hook. That's why you buy the paper.
Yeah.
Buy it and open it.
Yeah, and
if you know the story, you kind of look at the headline, and you're like, oh, I already know what happens. So it's like, it kind of kills that shock. Like, extra read all about it is gone because they already heard about it on
And I think, like, we pick up the Manchester Police Department's Facebook feed. You can click through from our homepage to a page with the daily arrest logs, the weekly arrest logs, and the most wanted list, and they're always fluid. So the thing that changed is it used to be, when I worked for the Union Leader on the night shift, I would drive downtown, park my car, go inside, sit down with the officer in charge, and say, what's been happening? And he would look through the log, and if there was some newsworthy items, we would talk about it. He would give me the details or give me more information, and then I'd take notes, and then I'd go back and write it up.
You gotta miss that then. Right?
So now the police actually put out their own press releases, and they distribute them to media outlets, and they post them themselves on social media. So before I get it in my email, it's already up on social media. So if you're following the Manchester Police Department, you don't need me.
Don't need you because they have it.
To regurgitate that information. Now, because what I do is I try to have archives and something searchable when there's stories that I think are important enough, to have, I'll post them as well so that they're searchable and findable should this person, recur in the news, or the crime should require more legal stuff. You want to have the history of a story, but more and more it's just changing.
Yeah, you lose that edge where you build a relationship with the chief, and you got a special kind of bond there versus the other 10 reporters, and you might get that extra little meat on the bone, whereas now everyone's getting the bone and they're not even journalists who get it. So you're right, I could just attach an attachment. I could get a notification from them too if I wanted.
Right.
But what you were saying, that you get the deets, but you also get the feel before.
Right.
You would get the feel of it, and that's kind of the heart of the story.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's shifted a little bit is, there's a lot of crime in our city and every city related to drugs and alcohol, which has risen in the last 10, 20 years. So used to be the crime briefs we would get would be more hardened criminals or more violent crime, felonies. We often get press releases for, men or women, young people who have been caught doing something under the influence, and maybe it's not a felony level, or maybe it's going to get tossed out by the time they get processed through the court system. Now those people have been exposed on social media before they've been proven guilty of a crime or had a chance to have their charges reduced or dismissed.
Right.
But you can't erase the damage done through social media.
Heck no, it's all damning.
I think that a lot of news publishers like myself are often rethinking what is news for our readers, what constitutes actual news story. Is this really news, or is this just almost just voyeurism, or just the police decide what to send us. They don't send us everything that happens. So if it's an arrest that makes them look like they've cleaned up the streets or gotten a bad guy off the streets, sure, that looks great for them. And that's not to say they shouldn't celebrate arresting people that are breaking the law. But what is news to our community? Maybe the bigger news in all of that is that there's a lot of people suffering with substance abuse, and there's no help. There's no recovery beds, right? So it's hard to say what the news is.
It's like Facebook is everyone's highlight reel, so it's obviously the police force's highlight reel too. They're not going to sit like that story. I remember the union leader did a Sunday story about a cop having racist texts from his wife on a company phone, and I'm like, wow, this is huge. I never heard about it once after that. It got ho-hummed so quick, and no one's trying to make people feel negative. No one's trying to, but if there's things that are going on, if there's code words that you're using, Mondays, if they're calling someone a Monday because nobody likes Mondays, that's what they said in the article, and then you hear it from time to time through the community, Friends of Blue, and it's oh my God, I know it happened because I read that article, but no one, that got buried in certain light like that. It doesn't, and again, we want, I'm sure you too, you would love every story to be this golden retriever had 12 puppies and they're all healthy and they're so cute. You know what I mean? That would be great if that was the lead every day, because then life is good. But at the same time, you know what they say, bleed. If it bleed, it leads.
If it bleeds, it leads, yeah.
But unless, if it's blue, it don't go anywhere, it seems like. Unless, you know, they made unless they arrested B-Dubs, the street artist. Then it's like you couldn't get away from that story. You know, it's like we got him, but like you're getting what you want, what they want. You know, like if I had to put out a press release of my daily day, what am I gonna write? That I picked my nose, or am I gonna write that I helped a guy across the street and, you know, to his car? What am I gonna portray myself as?
Yeah, and I mean, again, I'm not downing the police. You know, they have a terribly difficult job. There was
of course,
a meeting about, like, should they have school resource officers in this time of COVID when they're not going to have that many students at school, and that kind of underscores the whole argument or the whole discussion around defunding police, which doesn't mean taking away all their funding. But the question there is, if we need police officers in schools and we need a certain number to keep the peace, what if we reframe that and had different types of people in the schools that were not police officers, but perhaps some other type of resource person, like a combination
on the force, though, like.
Well, yeah, I mean, couldn't the police department employ people just like they have the CERT, which is the ACERT, which is for children or people when they go to a call and there's some kind of domestic abuse or something. You know, they have officers who are trained. Right. You know, they have teddy bears to give out.
Autism, people who call and say, "Listen, my son's freaking out.
Right.
But he's autistic.
Right.
Don't just send Larry."
Right.
You know,
he needs special.
He needs someone who
gets it.
Not someone that's going to come in hot.
It's time to look at, you know, what resources are being used, how many calls are domestic related, and how could we address that differently besides showing up with uniforms and guns, whether it's school or neighborhoods. And I'm not clear on what the right answer is. I just feel like these are discussions that communities need to have, but we can't get past the emotional reaction that we have.
That's what I was going to say. It seems like we're playing catch up so much that it's hard to make adjustments and improvements when and the police do a great job. I want that to be clear. I support the police. I don't want to be harassed later on. Just kidding. But they're doing their best, and they're so short-handed. It's like, you know, playing hockey with 4 guys on the ice. How are you going to take the time and drop a play that makes sense? Sure, from the guy in the stands and the announcer, why didn't they just run a 3-1 press? Well, there's 4 people on the ice, so they're just scrambling right now. They're trying to get the job done. It's going to be, if you could just do this, like Sabrina the Witch, just stop time, and then, readjust, but you can't because it's ongoing. It's the onslaught. It's so, like, these guys are just so busy, so it's hard. And who the hell wants to do that job? Oh my God.
Right.
The popular opinion is not great, and I feel bad for them because they really do they gotta do it. They gotta put their uniform on, and like, I bet it's not very fun to be looked at. People might not say things to them, but you know, people look at them, and no one likes to be picked on, whether you're caught, whether you're tough mentally or not. The toughest guy in the world doesn't like to be picked on. It's a human trait to get resentful for someone being like, psh. Like, I mean, I cry when people write one bad comment about me. I can't even imagine, to my face. Like,
I mean, I think this week there was a deadline for the police department. They're recruiting again, and they're looking for people to take the tests. And I haven't checked in with Chief Capano this time, but in the past I have asked how it went, and it's always an underwhelming number of applicants, and from the the initial pool of applicants, it just dwindles down to the number, and they might end up with 5 or 10 people out of 100 and something.
The talent just isn't there either. Like, not as much. Like, it's like having an all-star baseball team, and then you used to having 100 superstars try out, and you get to pick and now you got like 4 that'll be serviceable, and it's like, that's got to be frustrating too.
The police department's gotten younger. Statistically, it's younger and younger, and there are a lot more people coming from the military, who are
Makes sense.
entering police work, which was a criticism that was sort of started circulating around the George Floyd incident, because I think the officer that was charged, at least one of the officers charged in that, had a military background, and anybody that's been in the military knows if you're trained to fight in a war, you're basically trained to kill, right? So it's, historically they were supposed to be officers of the peace, or peacekeepers in a community. If you remember Andy and Mayberry, or those sort of, small town police departments, you didn't take the town drunk and wrestle him to the ground or tase him and lock him in handcuffs, and you put him in the tank for the night to sleep it off, and then you hoped that he got home okay.
Well, it's too bad, because you don't ever see cops that are willing to take a punch either, because it's like, you punch a cop, you might get shot. Back in the day, they would fist fight with their billy clubs, and like, I'm not saying they should be punched.
They shouldn't have to take a punch.
Of course not.
It's such a volatile time we live in. People are, if they're high on meth, or if they're just drunk out of their minds, like, there's no telling what's going to happen. And everybody's got weapons, guns, knives, whatever. So it's like, I think
the military transition makes sense, though. It really does, to me anyway, because being a cop, you get to kind of tune out the BS, it seems like. Because you're trying to get an interview done, you get the girlfriend yapping, and please stay over there, But if you're just too overly nice, and like, you got to be able to kind of get the job done. And I feel like in the tactical aspect of it, the military, to keep you in shape, I feel like you're kind of hitting the ground running. I don't see much wrong, because I have some best friends that were in the military, and they're the kindest souls ever. Mm-hmm. They just happen to need college money. Yeah. So I don't really see the problem with having a Marine step in and coming in. It's almost like, it's almost like playing in the minors, right? Really. But at the same time, I don't like how militant the police force is at the same time. So that can be off-putting to have someone talking jargon to you, and just, it's kind of, it's not as personal as you like it to be. But I can see why they would do it, and I could see with the pool of people out there. I mean, it's got to be frustrating to look at what you're getting at tryouts, I guess I would call it, and then you got to field the team though, and you got to make it work though. You have to make it work. It's like, so you have some people that you would like to be a little better, but you could always try to coach them up, I guess.
I think when I compare the stories I see around the country to what's happening here, Manchester has a pretty good track record. We know that there's some Manchester officers on this so-called Lori list that exists of exculpatory evidence of officers who have either lied under while on duty, like done something dishonest, or told lies, or what do you call it when you tamper with evidence, things like that. We know there's some Manchester officers who've been on that list or are on that list, but by and large around New Hampshire, it feels like we don't have some of the same issues that exist in other bigger. I
think we're very lucky with the force we have, because I mean, New York, something like that. I mean, when they tamper with evidence, they're trying to win. They're trying to cheat to win. I don't think I've ever heard of that happening. I mean, I'm sure it happens everywhere, but by and large, Manchester. I mean, it's good that you're grading on a curve, because it kind of has to be done that way. You do, when people complain. You made a great point on the morning show the other day. Great point, and I took it with me. You don't have to live here, bro. Like this, you could go to Candia and just chill near the woods. Like, go for it. Like, if you want to live that life, boring, and do what you want to do. But if you want to walk downtown to, the Pint, and then you want to go see a show that, if you want that city life, that's what it is, man. It's like tit for tat.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to live here. You don't have to live here. You can. I love it because I get bored. I love the arts. I love doing everything. And I would just, if I lived in Wolfboro, I don't know what I would do. I would be out of my mind.
Yeah, I mean,
but I wouldn't deal with the things that we would deal with here in Wolfboro either.
People also need a point of reference. Like, I grew up outside of Philadelphia for a lot of years and made plenty of trips to the big city. Scrapple. I've, in the last year or so, I've visited New York City, I've visited Chicago, I've visited Nashville. If you have walked downtown in any of those cities in the last year, you would come home to Manchester and just hug everybody that you see on the street.
Really?
Because it's a different level of poverty and homelessness and drug addiction and the feeling of spinning out of control. The number of tents you'll see in Portland, Oregon are tremendous compared to what you see under the bridge. Should we have that under the bridge? No, I think we have to do better, but it has to be the will of the people to make it happen. We rely on our leaders to make decisions, but and then people go on Facebook and say what they want to say, but they look for trouble on where's
Facebook.
The actual community action?
Right. It's funny you say that too, because sure, it's not that bad, but go to New Orleans, go to San Francisco, and tell me how it smelled. It smells like urine. And people now. There's so many. It's out of control in these big cities. I think the problem is Manchester. It's like you said, you want to just hug everyone, so you're used to this tranquility and this beautiful, best place in the country to live award a couple years ago. So when you see it, you're just seeing something for the first time. I saw riot gear for the first time in Manchester. I've never seen it, and it was kind of appalling. I couldn't believe it. I was in awe, and it was real though, and I'd never seen that. So I think when the people complain Manchester's out of control for my standards,
right?
But if you just kind of open your eyes up and live that, look at the macro instead of the micro, you'll see that, man, I would run back to Manchester, go live in Baltimore for 3 weeks, and then you will be like, wow, this is pretty pleasant right now. And if you not get to know them, but if you just, a nod and a smile goes a long way. And yes, you can see a smile through a mask because you can see your eyes squint. So it is possible.
I think what we're missing...
It goes a long way, though. The people they're scared of, if you act scared, they're just going to act like, you're like, well, screw that, Lee, But if you're like, hi, how are you? They're just going to be like, oh, good, how are you? They're not going to, I don't know. It's all, greetings are huge, aren't they?
It's like the discussion over, how to use the police force or how to distribute resources. I've had some first-person relationships with some of the homeless people over time. Two of the men that I got to know are both dead now, and the lesson in that to me is that each of them had what felt like an almost unsolvable issue that kept them in the cycle of homelessness, and there weren't really enough resources in terms of people to work with them one-on-one, to guide them each step of the way. And I feel like most of the homeless people, we just look at them as a pile of people or something that are unsolvable, and we don't want to figure it out. We don't feel there's any hope for them. But I think that's an unfair assessment. But until we get to a point where we have fully the resources we need, this isn't going to change. If you were struggling in your life and there was somebody who checked in with you every day and said, well, gee, Mike, we got to get you whatever, glasses, your license back. We have to get this straightened out. Let's go do it. I'll meet you tomorrow at 2. Like, someone's walking you through because you've lost your will, your ability, your money, your resources. You don't have a home anymore, whatever. You're addicted, you're a drinker, whatever. That one-on-one is what's going to get you to the next level, if that's possible.
And it might not. This is going to sound harsh, but it might prevent that person from killing themselves too.
Right.
I mean, I got to know 2 people as well, really close, and it's like one of them stole my bike, and I never saw him again. It sucked because I miss him more than the bike, because he was like an older guy. He was a rock and roll genius, and it was just fun jamming and talking to him about the Beatles and stuff. But yeah, he stole my bike, and I never seen him again. And it sucks that his guilt, his shame, is keeping him away from this relationship.
He felt like he couldn't face it.
Of course, he let me down. And he did let me down. I was a little upset, and it would be different. It would be different. I wouldn't be buying him lunch and stuff. I would be shame on me once, you know what I mean? But whatever, same, you know what I mean? Shame on you once, shame on me twice. The other one, I helped and got him in touch with his aunt. So that was the first one. The first one I had success at, and I had been chasing it since. And it's like, almost, when I try to help people, it's almost a selfish feeling in a way. It sounds weird, but I get such a good feeling out of it that I'm being selfish in a way, because I'm like kind of chasing that feeling too. And then you can tell when I'm just going out overboard, and like I'll give them a brand new pair of Nikes, and they're like, I'm like, dude, they're Nikes. It's like, well, what do you want me to do? Kiss you? Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I was kind of hoping you'd give me a hug.
Yeah.
But it's like, I always want to be like, well, here, kick these crappy Converse in. But at the same time, what's he supposed to do? Kiss me? Honestly, like, I gave him Nikes. Did I give him an apartment? No.
I mean, I know I have a terrible time receiving gifts from people that love me, my family, birthdays, Christmas. I don't really like to get stuff because I'm not stuff oriented, for one thing, but I just don't feel somehow comfortable receiving gifts.
Yeah.
I'm not good at getting showered with
That's
things.
what my friend told me.
And I assume for people who are in need all the time, there's a bit of
humble,
that feeling of like, these people have pity on me, or they're giving me stuff. I can't believe I'm this person. It's hard to
And this
accept.
guy thinks he's so great because he's giving me Nikes.
Yeah,
like
I guess.
Get over yourself, dude. Like, thank you. And I was like that, and I was like, dude, this guy, and I bought him a bread bowl, and it's like, and my friend's like, dude, chill. First of all, think about it. He's probably embarrassed. Number one. You're bringing it up. You're doing it in front of people. What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you not just pull him aside? Don't grand stage and peacock around. Like, look at me. So I got a good lesson out of that. About, like, this isn't for you, man. It's not for me. It's like, what am I doing?
There are a lot of really good people in our city doing a lot for people who are down on their luck. Not all of them are homeless and living under the bridge. There's a lot of people living in the margins and struggling, especially with the financial situation right now. So there's a lot of people who are doing good work and good deeds, but it's just the overall picture in Ward 13. I'm not sure what that is, but I guess that's the rest of the city, or the
Hopwood
city as a
land.
whole.
There's
But
a
I think,
secret society in Hopwood
I think
land.
I just think that overall the morale issue of our city, people on social media probably should not have happened. I mean,
probably not.
it's allowed people to dig in with an opinion and take shots at people they don't know, or criticize in a destructive way, and we don't listen. We just wait. We just want to attack. We're not trying to hear or understand. We're just ready to push out our opinion and swipe at other people, and I don't see how we're ever going to make progress.
Nope. And what do you focus on? If I say, you look beautiful, you have pretty eyes, your nails are great, and I love your outfit, but your glasses are a little nerdy or something. What are you going to focus on? The pretty eyes comment or the glasses? Or are you going to look right in the mirror, or someone says something about my ears, but, you know, I'm really handsome and I'm really a nice guy, but your ears are just jacked, yo. And I'm like, first thing I do, like, you focus on that one negative, and unfortunately on social media, you're getting half and half at this rate. If you go to Manchester Happenings, whatever that is, I mean, it's entertaining, and oh my God, I can't get away from it, it seems like. But Jesus, like, someone will be like, nice day today. It's like, no, it's not, stupid.
Right.
Like, there's that guy, and he wants you to react, and he's getting what he wants, and it's because his life is not being fulfilled. And social media, I mean, in one aspect, a cynical way of saying, well, I'm glad he can get what he's looking for out of that. So maybe if it makes him feel good, but the way he puts down the body shaming in women, it drives them. It drives women crazy. Like my 11-year-old niece is already like just crazy about the way she looks, and it's because of the boys, and it's because of the boy's older brother who's taught him that way. And it's like this cycle, like 16-year-old boys and stuff, they're just like, they're so vulgar. Like I coach football, and I hear them at 14 years old, and some of the things I just literally have to pretend I didn't hear, because if I admit that I heard it, I would have to contact an authority type. Like, it's so prevalent though that it's like they don't know what they're saying though. They're just trying to impress each other. It's like, yeah, I mean, this girl, yeah, and then my friend, it's like, whoa, bro, you don't even know the terms you're using. Like, so I'm not going to get in there as a 40-year-old and have an argument over that term, because then, that gets heard in earshot. Yeah, I'm supposed to be responsible, and it's not very, and I do feel guilt for just being like, I didn't hear that. Let's go, run it up on the line, guys.
Well, it kind of reminds me of, and I forgive me for forgetting his first name, but Coach Stone, who was known at Trinity and maybe at Central, and he died suddenly in the parking lot of the skating rink a few years ago after
the JFK?
Working out. Yeah, but I had covered. He, had submitted a few things to the Inklink about the way he worked with his kids, which was when they weren't playing, they would do like service stuff on the weekends, like serve food at the homeless shelter, and he would sit them down for like a nice dinner and sort of give them a talk about how they behave in general, or the morality of being an athlete and a student, and living your life this way versus that way, or shining, as a human being. If you're striving for excellence in sports, it should reflect in your whole life. And we've seen a lot of pro athletes who have a dark side, or who take a tumble because of some things in their personal life that go wrong. But again, it's like, what is the responsibility of a coach or a teacher or anybody to try to instill positive? Because if they're learning what they're learning from social media or movies or cable television, as far as how to behave or what is proper behavior,
or their family members, their influence,
and even young girls, it's Instagram and TikTok that they feel pressured by, because everybody's got filters to make them look perfect. So every young girl who looks in the mirror and doesn't see perfect skin and cheekbones and all of that, they immediately start the self-loathing. So it's worse than it was when I was a kid. We had fashion magazines, but today there's
filters. I forgot about filters. That's gotta be the worst. Like, okay, I got all these filters, and then like boys are ruthless too. Tinder or something.
Yeah.
You show up.
And it's like,
and you don't look like, the swimsuit issue, called, Photoshop, whatever, airbrush. The guys will just be rude to them. Like, that gives her a complex. Like, you see all these stories on that.
Yeah.
Like, boys aren't treating women right now.
It's hard because the world, I guess I would say I've always wanted to be in the now, as far as like I didn't want to get stuck in the past, so I try to stay up with what's current and know what trends are out there and what pop culture is all about. So it's easy to get stuck in wherever I've been and say things aren't like they used to be. But the world is what it is, and young people have to find their way. Mm-hmm. I just think we have to keep, instead of just saying like what a mess, we have to say what can we do to improve it? What can we do to help young people understand how to process this? Is
to get clean, you gotta
things
get
have happened so fast for
you gotta get a little dirty to get clean.
I guess so.
You know, and like, but back to the coaching thing, like the reason why well, not this year, I don't think we're gonna have a season, but the reason why I keep coming back, because my head coach, CJ, Clyde Perez, he's one of the community leaders for the East Cobras, and he's just, God knows we don't get wins, but he gives W's in different ways. Like he will make a man out of a guy, and he's a little hard love, he's a little off the grid, but there's not a single kid he wouldn't literally drive 5 hours for. You know, he'd do anything for these kids, and it's the spaghetti dinners, it's the movie nights, it's the 45-minute speeches during a practice that take up half the practice. Like sometimes, like, wow, we're not going to run offense today, because he's just talking in these very impressionable ages, and that's what gives me like the chills. And it's not about winning; it's about trying to win and executing. And we do try, but it's more about, hey, come here, putting your arm around that kid, and as he's crying and telling him that this is what you did wrong. You just forgot your arm sleeve on that, and you didn't know what B2 meant. But next time, I'll help you. I'll have the arm sleeve for you. Thanks. Get him in there, and like after the game, they're like, yeah, man, yeah, that was great, coach. Like, thanks for that. That little and that right there is a W.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of kids out there who don't get to participate in sports because they just don't have their families aren't.
Yeah,
connected to that world, or they don't have at home the kind of constructive leadership or constructive mentoring that you would get from a coach. And that's why it can make such an impact on a kid to have a coach that just sees them for a minute, puts your arm around them for a second, and says, look, that was okay, but you can do this better.
Just
and I
being
know
there.
Yeah, just being there.
Being there is everything. Like,
yeah.
I remember, like, I didn't think I was a coach. I thought I was an Uber driver, because these kids wouldn't be at practice if me and my brother and all the other coaches didn't pick up 3 of them at a time, which you're not really supposed to do that. But there's no way they'd show up. They'd show up without cleats, and it's like, well, why don't you have your cleat? My mom. Would you ask your dad were there? Well, he doesn't want me playing football this year. Mm-hmm. Well, what are you playing for, Coach CJ? So, like, if it wasn't for coaches like that, and I have them, I have like 5. Like Pat O'Neill, one of the like just nicest guy. Like coaches who can get people to play for them. Like these kids wouldn't be playing without the coaches. Even the parents don't want them to play, but he's like, no, I'm playing, Mom. And when you have pushback at home, James won't be here. It's my birthday. Like you hear that stuff, and it's like, well, happy birthday, but we need James on the team. His teammates. We pitch team, family, and like some of that being there is all they have. A consistent 6 to 8 o'clock. I at least have that. This might be crap at home right now, and I might see, my older brother smoking weed and all this stuff, and no one really wants me to succeed, but Coach does. And from 6 to 8, I get to put that all aside, and I get to hit someone, I get to run, I get to sweat it out, and I get that. At least I have that. And you'd see them lingering around, like, hey, you got a ride? You need a ride? It'll be 8:30, and then you got a ride. Or I'll walk a coach, and they just kind of want to just be on that field still, because their brothers in arms are right there with them. And that's what is beautiful about team sports. It's not about winning at 15. Some coaches, all they care about is winning. That's just, I don't get that. I don't know what you win. What do you win? I won Little League state championships. So what did I win, though? Nothing. I won, what? Now I can brag about when I was 12, I won something? Like, but I remember my dad being one of the greatest coaches. You know, like Ryan Day, the coach of Ohio State, he was on our Little League, North Little League All-Star team. And when my dad passed away, he sent me a message saying, sorry about your dad. He was a great coach, and he's told this story. Like, that's what he took out of it. And he's one of the biggest success stories we have right now. He's a household name now, and it's like, like that's kind of what he didn't say, yeah, your dad helped us win a state championship. He said your dad taught me how to win,
Mm-hmm.
and winning, that's a feeling. That's so coaching is a big responsibility, and that's why like you don't see many bad coaches because they kind of weed each other out. You see a jerk coach drinking or showing up with beer on their breath, or like you see it, you see a guy smoking a butt or in there. You're like, come on, dude, smoke your butt out there. Like, don't smoke. Like literally, these kids pick up on things. They look up to you. So, you see the coaches that aren't really cut out for it kind of get weeded out by the other coaches. The coach will be like, yeah, you shouldn't come around no more. Like CJ will just look at you and be like,
coaches nowadays.
It is.
And in school,
a lot of
school
parents
setting and outside of school, extracurricular. People are busy. People don't really feel the reward is there for all that it takes. It's just a different world.
A lot of parents coach just to make sure their kid
can play. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we got a phone call. What do I hit?
Just the on-off button once.
This.
Yep.
Hello, this is John Hopwood.
John Hopwood. Boy, you sound a little bit different.
Thank you. I look better, right?
Bill Barry, how are you?
Hey, Bill, how you doing? What do you think about our conversation here?
See what's up? What's going on?
What do you think about our talk here about coaching?
Well, I coached for quite a long time, so it's
great coach.
Well, you know as well as anyone. Your dad knew.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It's a tough thing to do. It's not the players. It's the parents, right? That you have the problems with the coaches.
Well, it's a thankless job too, isn't it?
I always enjoyed it, and I looked at the bright side. There's so many kids, and there's so many kids that I still see these days that I coach, and you just can't believe that they're grown-ups. They have their own kids. Some of them are coaching now, like yourself, and it's pretty amazing. I guess it's part of the circle of life. When you're growing up, you have some really great coaches, and when you get older, it's your time to give back. And that's what not just coaching, it's just anything in life. I think it's important to remember where you came from and give back to the same people that gave to you.
Yeah, is it coming back though? Do you think?
What's that?
Do you think it's coming back enough? Like, are the people giving back to the cycle of life? Like even me, I could do so much more. Admittedly, I could. It's a commitment, and I don't have any skin in the game. A lot of coaches kind of stick around for you didn't. Like, you might, some coaches just follow their kid around. They'll coach 13-year-olds,
right.
Then they'll coach 15-year-olds, then they'll coach high school.
Right.
They don't really commit to a cause or an age group. But you did. You stuck with Babe Ruth forever.
Right.
That's not really coming around anymore. It seems like anyway.
Yeah, but back when I coached, I know, I started at Little League. I played at Central Little League, and I knew, the coach that coached me all 4 years I was in Little League. He didn't have any kids, at least sons, that played. It was, so he was coaching out of the goodness of his heart. And that's one of the things I've always said about Babe Ruth. And a good example and a good way to gauge Manchester Babe Ruth compared to other Babe Ruth leagues is you look at for All-Stars, for example, you look at the rosters, and you look at the three coaches that are coaching the All-Star team, and I'll guarantee you're going to find three of the same last names on the All-Star roster.
Burke, Sapienza, O'Neill. That sound about right?
It happens, and that's
it's true. Like that,
I always prided
they
myself
stuck around.
with the Manchester coaches. When you get Mickey Hannigan and Pat O'Neill and Phil Sapienza, Gary Alden, all those guys, Colin Burke. He had a son later on in life, but he coached a long time before his son was eligible to play Babe Ruth. And you're right, there's some coaches that coach just to coach their kids, and I think sometimes it's great. I think sometimes it's a big mistake because you start thinking, do I coach my kid differently than others, or do I treat them the same? And if I treat them the same, are they going to think that I'm mean to them, and they get embarrassed, or they just don't feel like listening to you? They listen to you enough at home.
It sucks. Like my dad would just purposely be more of a jerk to me just to show that I'm not being favored.
Yeah.
And it would translate into home life too. It would trickle down.
Fair to you? It's not.
No, it's not. And I was better than New Kershaw, and he started him over me.
And you know what? And volunteering and community service is huge. And one of the things that I did, my community service, I made sure, number one, that I coached every league that I played in, and number two, any organization that helped out my family. And I'll give you an example: Boys and Girls Club, and Salvation Army, and Big Brothers Big Sisters were three of the ones that I was involved with when I was growing up. They helped out not only me, but they helped out my family, because my mother was a single parent raising 6 kids. So it gave her a break because, we were involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters. We were involved with Salvation Army, where they would have different events and different things that we could attend. And then you had the Boys and Girls Club, which kept us really busy. So I made sure I volunteered for those groups. And then I even went further than that. I with the Webster House, kids that are suffering from, physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse at home, or all the above. And I volunteered there. I was I ended up being the president of the board of directors here, because it meant a lot to me. Challenger League and Special Olympics. There's another thing that another group that I was involved with that I had really, really enjoyed. Make-A-Wish Foundation of New Hampshire.
Then what happened?
A lot of them, and it's funny, Mike, because I was involved with so many, and so I would get asked by a lot of people, whether it be at work or through different other events that I attended, saying, "Hey, we're looking for a person to join our board of directors. Are you interested?" And I would do it without hesitation because it was important to me.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. At some point, though, it sucks because you hit your ceiling. There's so much you can do, and then there's a lot of people grasping at you. And now you hit your ceiling. Like, how far can you go? I mean, you're one of the highest public servants positions there is, and all that deals with is a bunch of crap you have to deal with. So it's like where's the reward in serving them?
It's I think the important thing about, especially being an alderman, is that you got to think of it in a positive way. You've got to, people reach out to you because they want action. They want something done. They don't know who to talk to and all, and that's your job as an alderman. It's more, people will say, criticize you for, whether it be the budget or whatever, but the most important thing about being an alderman in the city of Manchester is constituent service. And what that means is, I'll give you a real good example. Yesterday, there were some roadblocks, detours off of South Main and off of 2nd Street because they were reconstructing and getting ready to pave, and it was an inconvenience for people. And they called me up because they were never notified, and we rectified it because, unfortunately, it was a mistake. It was a mistake by the city, and they're taking care of it because even though it was listed on their website, a lot of people don't depend on the website. They would like to see a heads up saying, hey, like sometimes you'll see on the highway, Thursday, August 21st, we're going to have road construction or something. They need to know something like that. So, but that's your job. And you know what? It is, you do get some grief, but most of it is good. Most of it, after you do your job, and I try to get it done. If someone calls and complains or has a concern, I take care of it right away because
How
it's
often
important.
how often does that occur?
It's important to me.
How often would you say like you're fielding calls? Is it a daily thing, or is it like, or people just kind of say in the air, I have this problem, but they don't actually go and make the call? Like I feel like if you do you get a lot of these calls, and do you deal with them directly?
I get probably emails and phone calls, probably on the average about between 3 and 5 a day, and then sometimes you'll get more. And a lot of them are the same complaints. Because like yesterday was a good example. I think I received like 5 phone calls in messages and also emails because they were upset because they weren't given a heads up and it was an inconvenience because they couldn't. It was kind of a cluster because they didn't know where to turn to get to their destination because they have to go. When you're living on the west side, you've got to go over one of the bridges to get to where you need to go, and unfortunately, some of the roads were blocked off, and they were just trying to figure out a way to get it.
When you get that call, Bill, what kind of clout do you have? What power do you have? Can you make a call and have a road changed? Like, are you able to do anything on the spot?
What I would do, Mike, is I would call up. In this case, it's the Public Works Department. I would call up Public Works, and I would let them know, and they would go over to the wherever the concern is. In this case, just for example, West Hancock and South Main Street. They would go over there and see for themselves what's going on and how they can fix the problem. I did get a call back because I called a few people at Public Works, and I did get a call back, and they did go over there and and they gave me the heads up, and I also gave the people that were concerned that called me. I called them back to let them know that on Thursday they're actually going to be on 2nd Street. They're going to be putting down the first coating of the hot top from Queen City Ave to Granite Street, just so that they're aware. And there's one business that was affected, Norm's Barbershop on West Hancock. Norm's one of the nicest guys in the world, and he was one of the persons that called me because he lost a few customers because of the inconvenience.
Now, if I'm Norm, say I'm Norm the barber, can I call Public Works, and am I going to get the same results, or is it got to be an alderman that's going to get the job done? Like, are they just going to kind of blow me off, or do I got to have Bill Barry call them to get them to go look at it?
I think you could get
probably
maybe the same results, but I know if I call, I can tell you this. Any department in the city of Manchester, I love them all. They're all unbelievable. They're like class A. They're unbelievable. If I ever call them for anything, whether it be the police or the fire or the Public Works or even the planning and zoning or parking, the parking bureau today, Billy Burke and Scotty McMullen came by. We had a problem over on the west side. They came right over right away and took care of it. They're awesome people. They work really, really hard, and the people that run these departments, they're just the best people. And any time that I've ever called, I've never ever had to call them back and say, "Hey, what's going on? This hasn't been taken care of."
Yeah, just have them call me. I'll take care of it.
I have a question. Can you hear me, Bill?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
This is more maybe a little bit philosophical, but you've lived here your whole life, and I wonder, is there any way to really get politics out of the city, how the city operates, in that it's supposed to be a non-political election, but yet once people are in place, it's always sort of the factions of people that vote, and people on social media, come out against one another for their opposite politics, and this is not just aldermen, but it's also on the school board. And as a citizen, first, I look at that and I feel discouraged about how government operates, because I feel like, if everybody had the best interest of the city in mind, they would either not be allowed to have politics, or their politics shouldn't come into play. And I don't know how you would remove it, but it feels like rather than like a board of directors that want the company to thrive,
and they want to get reelected. they want to keep their job.
But it's political too, like
Yeah.
divisive politics. You know, you have split decisions a lot, and people undermining one another. Is that just too much of Americana that we're never going to see an end to that? Is it?
Probably.
Well, Carol, I think the only way that you would see an end to this, to that, is get rid of social media. The unfortunate thing is, people get, and I've learned, I used to get caught up in saying my opinion or my thoughts, and then I learned quickly that it's not even worth it. You're going to have people on there that they're never ever gonna see your side. They'll never ever agree with you, no matter what. Even if they inside agree with you, but politically they won't agree with you because you might be a Democrat, they might be a Republican, and you have different views, and they see it. They see everything different. I'll say it's black, they'll say no, it's white. The sky's blue, no, it's not, it's green. It's never going to end. But social media, I think, it ruins a lot of what's going on. Do you think back in the days when Bill Cashin and Bill Kelly and Mayor Stanton, you had all these politicians, they worked really, really hard to get things done for the city of Manchester, but they worked amongst each other, and they worked across the aisle. You know who the Republicans were, you know who the Democrats were, but now you've got so much hatred, and you've got so many people that go onto social media and give their views, and they have their, they have their backers, they have the people that always agree with them, and they love to, there are certain people out there.
Well, Bill, what one of the problems is,
to cause chaos,
One of the problem is you might agree on one issue, but another issue comes out and you might feel a certain way, but then there's a certain guy that comes in at 9 o'clock on this very desk that will literally name a fellow Republican by name and shame them for not voting his way. Like, you're supposed to just vote on 27 topics one way. You can't feel one way about the 26th topic.
You're right, Mike.
Or you're just not you're not a team player.
That happens, all the way down, when you know what, and I'll tell you, I won't go on social media and give my opinion anymore. I try. I hope I never do anymore.
Stay off.
It's just not worth it.
Yeah. I'm surprised that there isn't.
What I do is, if people have concerns, I always tell them to send me an email, because if I forward that email off, that concern or complaint that they have is from them, but I'm forwarding it to the specific director, whether it be the chief of police or one of his subordinates or the public works director or parking bureau, things like that. I'm going to send it off, and that's how I get the job done. I'm not going to get it done on social media, whether you like me or dislike me, or whether you like my views or don't like my views. I'm not even gonna bother anymore with it, because it's not worth it. All you're gonna do is you're gonna make it's like an umpire.
Bill, I'm surprised. Bill,
you make a call. One team's gonna be happy, the other team's not.
Bill, I'm surprised there's not more push to have a social media policy for elected officials, and just kind of say, like, if you're an elected official, you're allowed to have a Facebook page that's called Bill Barry Alderman, and you're allowed to answer constituent questions there or inform the community about things that are happening.
Maybe it might go that way.
But you need to suspend participation on social media as a rule of being elected. And it's not about free speech. It's really about going outside of the lines of decorum, when it's like you're not supposed to have a quorum outside of a meeting, or you're not supposed to discuss things that are going to be on the agenda outside of, like, everything's supposed to be done in public, and all of that.
Sports teams do it. They don't let you do it.
I mean, even reporters aren't supposed to participate in activities outside of work that would blur their objectivity. Like, you're not supposed to be part of some political affiliated group or something, because you have a job to do, and that's just the consequence. I mean, has there ever been a push for a social media policy for elected officials?
I wish there was. I honestly wish there was. I know they probably do if you're, for example, if you're an employee and you say something derogatory, or look what happened to the teacher a few years ago.
So there is no policy then.
Of a book that was outdated,
hey Bill.
when it came down to possible disciplinary action.
Bill, we got to.
Her? No, I don't think it was. I think she was just frustrated with the fact that the schools weren't getting enough money to run the schools properly.
Well,
in the city of Manchester.
there's an idea for you, Bill.
You can a picture of a book.
There's a good idea for you.
Yeah, you can raise that legislation.
And believe me, I mean that just took off like there's no tomorrow. And
Hey, Bill, thanks.
It's too bad.
Bill, we're up
but
against the
what?
clock here. Norm's
The thing is, you have
predicting my demise.
Yeah, we got to go.
You
But
have the right. You have the right of free speech. You know what I mean?
Hey, Bill, thanks for calling in. That flew by, but we gotta go. Norm the psychic's here, and he's predicting a victory, I think, for you. I feel like.
Oh, good. Tell them
Right.
I need it. Tell them I need to hear that every day from them.
All right, I'm John Hopwood, and it's been real. Thanks, Carol. We love you.
thank you for
Bye, Bill.